Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode number 73 today to discuss Formula 1 2018, going to testing and the brand new cars and everything from, well, the past few weeks since our last podcast, basically since we kicked off the 2018 season. You're back with you as your host, myself, Arav, Callum, and Tom. And just before we get going, a little reminder, if you did miss the last podcast, we are now officially on iTunes, so you can listen to this podcast on the go, audibly, on the iTunes podcast app, when you're on the go, on your Apple mobile devices, or if you're on Android, you can still get it on SoundCloud. Both links are below, but just search Pitlane Podcast and you'll find us there. But let's get into this then, guys. So testing is started. We're recording this on a Wednesday, by the way, and this will be going out on the weekend before testing too. So just giving you a bit of a timeline of when we're recording this thing. So today, Wednesday, was a bit of a useless day, all in all. But testing day 1 and 2 went ahead, and we're starting to see the new cars. I mean, I guess we haven't given our opinion on the new cars, guys. So as a whole, general, liking the look of the grid this year.
Very colourful. We'll ignore all the comments that begin with a certain H and end in an L.
Yeah, of course. Always going to come.
And that's not hello. Apart from that, the cars look very, very colourful this year. They look brilliant, and especially a certain McLaren, which I think I'm really going to put my hands down. He's probably my favourite car this year. The cars are looking very, very good, and I think they look a lot better than last year. Again, regarding minus in the halo.
The livery-wise.
I think they've absolutely nailed it, and I'm really happy that teams are starting to listen to the fans.
I think there's a nice little contrast between, if you look at I think I told you, the McLaren and the Ferrari are a bit plain, so I'm waiting to see the Force India when they put loads of sponsors on their car, how it looks. Turns out maybe plain might be the best option after all, because McLaren and Ferrari are pretty sweet. Even Renault, the Renault is beautiful and it's not really, really stacked with sponsors. Like the Renault is also very nice and also OCD satisfying with the way they've made it work. So I think Ferrari, McLaren, Renault are the top 3. Force India though,
that's an interesting livery. Let's I likened it to on Twitter the drumstick swizzle sweets you get. Like, I don't know why they just have patches of pink on top of white. It's like, I was saying this to you,
like
Tom,
a dark
earlier.
pink as well.
Yeah, it's just like they painted the car white, and they're like, oh, hang on, we've got a sponsorship thing that we've got to make it pink, so just slap some pink on there, like on little splodges. So
it is kind of like a child's made it in a way.
Yeah,
Oh, we'll have a little bit here and a little bit here. Like last year, don't get me wrong, because they have changed the pink shade, haven't they? They've made it a bit brighter.
Yeah, a little bit darker, a little bit more.
Oh, have they? I don't know. I don't
really?
know, I don't know.
No, I thought that's what I thought. Yeah, they made it darker.
The base pink is like a bit more, not darker, it's just richer.
Darker.
More
richer.
It's definitely a different shade, but I'll give it that compared to last year. But it does look like they've gone, right, okay, let's put a line here, a bit of a splodge here, a bit of a splodge there, and it's kind of like...
A 7-year-old did it, you've got a piece of paper.
To be fair, they always like...
lines,
It's unlike, for example, the Ferrari wasn't done by a child. It could have been done, actually. They went, I want it red.
He was given a pre-drawn Ferrari car and he just got a red colour pencil and just colour the whole thing red.
No, instead of like a pot of crayons, he was given one crayon.
You'll have red.
Do what you can.
Just colour in. Yeah, that was speaking about the Ferrari. Did you guys watch the launch of Ferrari's launch? I
watched bits of it. Yeah,
it was quite funny. Just I made a joke about it on Twitter as well. About comparing it to the Mercedes launch. Like the Merc launch was like, okay, we're going to launch the car in 2 hours' time. Here's the car already, 2 hours ahead of our official launch. And the Ferrari are like, here's our launch. Here's not our car. For half an hour, we're going to talk about how great Ferrari are and how great our fans and just everyone is sitting here. That was it.
To be fair, this year was one of the better years. They didn't really go on that long, and what they did was pretty alright. It was like within reasonable substance. It wasn't one where I'm just gonna get a bit of food while I wait, for the. It was pretty straightforward. He ran. I think it was Mark Janae. He ran through the thing quite quickly, and there was a little video package. And to be fair, the little trailer thing before they launched the car was sick as well. So
I like that. Yeah, that was a little.
Yeah, I still think a car launch. I don't think you can beat Ferrari in terms of. The car didn't leak anywhere, which was a big theme this year, leaking.
I was just going to mention that, yeah.
And the car was, it was on the wrap. So when they unveiled it, it was very, well done in my opinion.
Shit, that's the new Ferrari.
The only issue was once the car actually appeared, they still focused on the people and not on the actual car itself, which was that was my issue. You could see the car had appeared in the showroom, but
the panning shot
Yeah,
was just
no
like
focus on the car.
was just Seb and Raikkonen like stood in front of it, kind of blocking most of it, like. Just come on, like, look, move.
Interesting though that there was so many leaks this year, because obviously a bit of the McLaren was leaked, the Toro Rosso was leaked, the Mercedes was leaked. I'm trying to think of any other teams as well. I know that Haas just went, bam, here's our car. Trying to think. Obviously, Force India left it quite late. But I don't know. It's quite interesting. We've never really had that before, have we? Where there's been so many leaks.
No, not so many. Yeah, I think it's due to just like filming days. They're just like a lot of the teams, apart from now, like when the leaks started to come from McLaren switched their like filming day to after the launch. But I think a lot of teams, for some reason, just decided to do the filming day before they actually launched the car. But it's like, oh, hang on. Some people might be so dedicated, they might go to the track that we're filming at and might take some photos.
I've never seen so many teams do filming days as well. Like, usually you don't get that. I know Mercedes have always done it.
Well, they use it as shakedown now, basically.
Yeah,
it's not really a filming day. It's like a secret shakedown.
What did they get? Is it 100 kilometres? I think.
Yeah, 100 kilometres. Yeah, you got that spot on 100. Yeah, and then the Red Bull's testing livery or launch livery didn't even make it to testing. So that was another why? Why have you as Tom would say, why have you cock-teased us like that with the camo livery that looks sick? And then you've just reverted back to when Tom asked me what did I think of the new livery, I was just like, it's like last year's, isn't it? So
it's like what every Red Bull has ever looked like.
It's
in
like
its history,
last year's
really.
matte Red Bull. Like it's basically the same theme, matte paint, which I like.
It's a shame they didn't keep that camo because they even made
site-wide marketing changes to every social channel.
They
just for one day, which is so Red Bull, though. I'll say it's so Red Bull.
I'd like to see them just break it out for like a Monaco-only special.
That'd be cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, I think that they got potential to make something magical with that livery for something like Singapore, Abu Dhabi under the night skies. Maybe.
Yeah, and like if they want to keep the red in the Red Bull, they could just make like the bull part red and keep the rest all kind of silvery and like blue. I think it would kind of have a nice contrast to it. But yeah, definitely Red Bull. If any team are going to do it, they're the team you think could pull off a good marketing ploy like that.
Red Bull are definitely the best marketing team on the grid.
Oh, 100%,
they are absolutely
100%.
amazing. The fact that they made like race suits in the camo livery as well. It's like you've gone for all that effort. You could say you got money to burn. To do all that marketing strategy just to go, oh, wait, but here's our actual livery, sorry.
Yeah, it was a couple of days of photos and then the actual livery got unveiled at testing. So
that must have been probably the best livery this year if they did keep it. Because obviously you can compare it to Renault, which was quite different, and McLaren, which was quite different. But obviously Sauber's been a bit
I'll still give it to McLaren. There's something about the McLaren, the orange, and also the way it contrasts with the metallic blue. It just looks brilliant. I can't put my finger on it, and it's weird because, for example, the halo, the H word, is just black, but I don't know why. It just looks cool. It doesn't even put me off the fact it's not color coordinated with the car. I like it because it breaks it up a bit. The RB14 in testing livery camo is it was good, but a lot of people speculated it would have had like a bit of a similarity to the Toro Rosso, so therefore it would have been like a similar style livery.
Yeah,
with sort of dark bluish accent with the white. So I can understand why they didn't commit to it, but you know, like I said, if they could run it on a one-off race, that'd be pretty damn cool. Which
they could maybe do it for Austria because obviously that's the home race.
Yeah.
They could do it anywhere, but it's a shame that they don't. To be fair, it's a shame that they're not allowed to maybe split liveries between cars. I know we're going off a bit of a tangent here, but to be fair, new liveries, that's what we love. But it also is quite interesting that so many teams launch their cars, obviously photoshopping bits out and trying to hide in very low lighting. Obviously, if anyone that watched Aarav Let's Talk, all the pictures have to be bumped up to at least
just boost
a million brightness so you can actually see it.
Renault just launched also with like a fake car, and then afterwards it's like, it wasn't even the real car, just the livery launch. It's not really the car launch yet. So like,
even better. At least you weren't Sauber to say, oh yeah, this is just the test livery. This is just the
like back in 2017, just finesse all of us. Just like, this is the livery to launch the partnership. Oh, hang on, it's actually just our real livery. We launched it months in advance.
I didn't get that. I think they did say at the event that was going to be a livery for the new car. They did say that.
I didn't know that. If that was said,
I think people have missed under the radar. They did. I was
if
not
they said that, then I'll put my hands up. I missed it. I missed that.
They said straight up, our new car will launch with this livery.
Because it was so uninspiring when they launched it on that 2011 Sauber that I was just like, okay, that's got to be like a bold job of a kind of, quickly, wait, hang on, we got to announce the partnership, quickly make something. But I mean, I know Tom points out to me in testing they made the front wing black, so already it looks a little bit better to me.
Yeah.
I think they need just kind of one red sponsor on the side of the chassis where the driver legs would be, like on that side of the chassis, just to kind of break it up a little bit.
You know, on the side pod, they could just literally write Alfa Romeo on the side pod, just to break it up. Like someone made a Photoshop of it, just literally Alfa Romeo text on the side pod. And it it completely changes it. Like it just breaks it up nice and looks really, really good. Also, I think they could actually put like maybe the Alfa Romeo badge where they, Ferrari have their badge on the side of the nose cone on the inside part. They could also have maybe like an Alfa Romeo badge there. You know,
I think they just need to slap some more red on that just to make it a bit more.
I don't get why people hate it so much. I like it. I mean, yeah, sure. I think it was up to me. I would have put red on the entire upper side of like the nose.
Yeah, like kind of like Manor style. Like it's white on the sides and red down the top.
But I don't hate what it is right now.
I don't hate it, but it's just kind of like you could have done more because from the rear end, it looks like the best car out of all of them. The
Hands
rear
down,
end, that is the best rear end.
Yeah,
it's exquisite, but then you just go to the front and it's so white. So I think they could have broken up a little bit. Speaking about like going back quickly to Red Bull though, the fact that they like the same-ish. I did like the fact that it's kind of just nice for me. I don't know about YouTube or anything kind of, but just to see the Aston Martin such big writing now on an F1 car. It's kind of cool. Just like that's sweet. We've not never really seen that at all, and it's just kind of like slowly they're coming back in, and I don't know, maybe in the future they expand their role with Red Bull. Engine hint or something like that. I don't know.
Looks very nice on that rear wing.
Yeah, it's very cool. Nice. Very cool.
I find it quite interesting how obviously we talk about different liveries and everything, and then we see Mercedes, Toro Rosso. Maybe not so much Toro Rosso, but Mercedes and Williams sat in the corner over there, not making much change. I think I do like, to be fair, the Mercedes. Okay, it's a silver arrow. You can't really change it that much. But Williams, they've got Martini, one of the best sponsorships, and they just keep the same livery every single bloody year. Proper annoying, but
they just don't like. They're just like, no, it's got to be the same stripe structure.
Yeah, we'll have one stripe.
We can't angle the stripe at the back in any kind of interesting way. It's got to be just straight across, horizontal. Just like there's been so many concepts about the way they could just shift it and angle it, and they just don't bother. But it doesn't matter because Martini are going to be leaving Formula One after this year. Not just Williams, but F1 as a whole. Apparently, the parent company Bacardi are just kind of like, nah, we've got new kind of interest, and it's not really in line with where we want to be for the future, which is interesting as well in itself. Kind of a little bit worrying in a way that you've got such a big brand like that just wanting out of F1 completely. But
F1 doesn't really promote alcohol, does it? I mean, you don't really see Johnny Walker that much nowadays. There used to be Campari back in the day.
You see Johnny Walker still quite a lot on tracks.
Like, I'll give you an example. We used to see Foster's all the time. We used to see Campari.
Yeah.
I mean, only recently the Heineken things come in, but before that, you didn't literally see alcohol at all, except for Johnny Walker.
Fair, we can speak from experience going to Silverstone. Heineken was everywhere. Like Heineken.
If you combine the fact, alcohol is banned in some countries, and I think it's the same idea as a tobacco thing. To be honest, eventually tobacco was everywhere, then slowly it got sort of clamped down on, and I don't think alcohol will ever be completely removed, but I mean, it definitely ain't going to be as prominent as. I mean, even like, for example, Chandon, it's not really that prominent on the McLaren, to be honest. Not as much as you thought when they announced the brand. So, I just don't think alcohol really. I don't know. I don't think it has a place as much as people think in F1 anymore, especially the way F1's going at the moment. I just don't think it has that.
Well, I think the only place
not on the cars,
when they spray it, when they spray it at the end, and that's about it. And even in certain countries, they can't do that. But it's carbon at the minute, I think.
Yeah, and that's not advertised anywhere. So
that's the only place it's advertised is on the bottle, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So that's enough of alcohol sponsors, and I think we could probably move into testing.
I will say, Callum, I don't know about you, but I think me and Arab agree on this. The Toro Rosso looks beautiful. The way they've made.
I do like the look of the Toro Rosso. Yeah,
small tweaks on the Toro Rosso. Looks really good.
Let's not forget. Last year's livery was beautiful, so they couldn't. To be fair, I'm glad they've kind of kept a lot of the concepts, and they've kept with that the silvery sort of with the blue. But I think that's livery news.
Yeah.
Tune in next year for another round of livery news.
Yeah, all the way next year for this same sort of talk about liveries. But going to testing then, we'll do a little wrap up of what's been going on day 2 and day 1. Day 3, I'll quickly bring you up to speed in like 5 seconds. Absolutely nothing, and Alonso is P1. So there you go.
I think the snowman alone makes the thumbnail. Surely.
Yeah, the Mercedes snowman
has to make the thumbnail.
Snowtoe. His name was.
So throughout day 1, a few issues for McLaren, teething issues. The wheel nut came off and had a failure, and then day 2, the exhaust clipping came off. So McLaren still haven't actually ran that much, as maybe they and their fans would have liked them to at this stage with the reliable Renault power unit. But it's all kind of down to teething issues, team side and chassis side, which I guess if it had to happen, they'd rather it happen in testing. But it's still not amazing.
Funny, but I want to see more. I'm still not convinced, bro. After seeing how Toro Rosso turned up with Honda this winter testing so far, you do wonder, was it all completely Honda's fault, or do McLaren also have to look in the mirror? We'll find out more in the second test. Hopefully we see them improve running in better conditions, but so far, McLaren really haven't shown me anything to say, oh wow, yeah, it was definitely Honda holding them back. I mean, look, nothing's really happened.
Yeah, I mean, the Toro Rosso Honda basically finessed McLaren so far, because it's done 93 laps with Brendan Hartley day 1, and then how many laps did he with Gasly? 82.
Nearly 90 again, yeah, like
82.
82.
So, I keep making jokes about it on Twitter, and it maybe looks like I really want this to happen. I would want it to happen just in a kind of funny way, that Honda have just literally pulled the wool over McLaren's eyes this entire time.
There has been talk in the paddock that Honda have made considerable step forwards this year, and obviously there's always been talk, but obviously eventually the talk becomes true, and the fact that Toro Rosso didn't have, I don't think, a single engine problem at all, completely
nothing.
uninterrupted running for
Third
both Brendan
laps,
Hart, which is ironic to say the end of their year, which was so interrupted by Renault. It is just funny. I think as much as like McLaren fanboys, obviously you might be a little bit pissed off the fact that it's now McLaren messing up rather than Honda.
Literally, since the wheel nut thing last season, that's when it started to happen.
Yeah,
as well.
That's
what the scary thing is.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, but McLaren have gone one way now. Let's see if it's right, but yeah, only a wheel nut issue, so that's not hugely problem.
It's just teething issues, actually. I
think the funniest thing that came. The funniest thing that probably came from that is the fact that obviously everyone was like, "Oh, the Halo saved him! The Halo saved him from all that."
Yeah.
As much as that makes my eyes roll, like reading comments like that, you've got to take the funny side of it sometimes.
Stop some gravel getting into that cockpit.
yeah. But other than that, even though they do look like an Indy car running about, I still think that looks like an Indy car. Now I look at it with that papaya orange. I think that's the right name for it.
Yeah, it does look a lot like Alonso's Indy 500
I look at it and I'm like, what's an Indy car doing on the track? Oh, right, that makes sense. But other than that, I think McLaren have still done more running and gone faster than what they ever had last year. I know
for sure.
Much,
yeah.
But
it's just
they haven't done more running. They did more laps this time last year.
All right.
All they've done is improve their lap time,
at least. Yeah.
Which is,
at least you can test the chassis.
I think that's what every team's done, improve their lap time. So that's what I'm saying. Right now, there's nothing on the table that suggests.
At the same time, though, there's not a lot on the table for anyone, really, because especially day 3 was useless. Even day 2, a lot of rain involved. And, day 1, also from day 1, the track temps have been so low. But obviously,
it's brand new track,
if you live in Europe, you'll know of the cold a lot of us are experiencing.
From the east.
Especially in the UK, and then obviously if you're in that area of Spain around Barcelona, areas like Rome and Italy that are seeing snow, they don't usually see snow. There's a lot of big cold fronts coming in, so it means the track is a lot colder than it would be usually, and so you have people like Vettel saying that even they don't know how much is going to be important. They're just going to stick to themselves. Usual kind of PR stuff from testing, but definitely I don't know. I tweet about this. I kind of like it. I like how winter testing is actually in the winter this year, and it's kind of like not all. Obviously, I know this might, in a way, you could argue it's going to benefit the big teams, but I also think there's just that chance of like, okay, so a big team can't stress test everything, so there's that little tiny more chance. There's something that'll crop up at Australia they did not find in testing, and just mixes it up maybe. Or you can easily argue, and I'll agree, that also it could just benefit the big teams because they have a lot of data back at the factory, and the smaller teams might need the in-life testing a lot more. But I kind of like it's all kind of wish-washy at the moment.
Yeah, it's wish-washy, as well as the fact that, like, this year, well, this is definitely going to be one of the most reliable. I don't think anyone's actually broken down so far in testing. I know people have span off.
No,
and
people
got
span
beached,
like due to the conditions and
but
like
this
broken
is
wheel.
definitely the most reliable era of these hybrid engines. And bearing in mind, I was talking to Tom about this. I was watching, I think it's Ted's Notebook. I'm not sure if it was day 1 or day 2, but there's rumours that Mercedes are going to be pushing 1,000 horsepower this year. That's pretty mental. But apparently, that all teams aren't. The power output compared to Abu Dhabi to now isn't going to be huge because obviously everyone's focused on reliability. Clearly, it's paid off because no one's broken down.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the 3 engines, they want to do, I think it's 40% more racing or something like that.
I mean, like today, Renault said they were going to maybe take some tactical, early engine grid penalties.
I found that very intriguing. Like that tactic.
I think you should. Listen, bro, I did it in career mode. I did it in career mode, so it's early and job done. So,
did it in the game, bro.
Did it in the game, it's right.
It worked for me, okay, because I still got some points out of it, and I started from the back and got a fresh engine. So the logic really could be applied the same, especially if you're a midfield team. When it comes to the end of the season, when then points are crucial.
Definitely someone like Renault.
Play in your favour.
Definitely.
So, but the fact that Renault said that, and we're talking about McLaren here.
That's awkward.
But yeah, also small caveat I want to mention. I don't know if we mentioned it in pre-podcast notes, but signs saying about lack of visibility in the halo. Well, not visibility, but the way.
No, he wasn't saying visibility. He said he couldn't tell the rain was coming down because the halo was blocking the rain droplets.
Yeah, interesting thing. I don't know. It's like no one considered that, but it actually makes pretty good sense.
It kind of puts more emphasis then on the team to get it right, because no longer maybe can the driver be like, oh yeah, no, I can feel the rain. Yeah, I mean, you can feel
flat out through here. Oh wait, no.
You can still feel the grip though. That's one thing. You'll still feel the grip through your butt in terms of the grip levels.
You just don't know how far.
You just can't. Yeah, visibility wise, it might be harder for the drivers to tell the FIA and then therefore Charlie and then the safety car if it's time to come in under a safety car in terms of visibility, because they're like, I can't tell because the rain's not hitting my face anymore as hard.
Interesting
one. Very interesting one.
Compared to everything else, I think the only other Halo issue apparently
Gasly
ripped
when he got out of the car,
on it.
It ripped. Like, I don't know how many times he was getting in and out for that to happen, or if he just one time snagged it on the aero device Toro Rosso put, because not all the teams have aero devices on the Halo, but Toro Rosso do. They have a whole rack on the top. So I don't know if it caught on that or something. But yeah, he said it worn down so much he would have to change it if he wanted to go back in the car again, like change a different race suit. Yeah. So that was a bit odd. That was a very odd thing.
Very strange. Yeah. To be fair, I have mixed opinions on this whole the aero bits on the Halo. Well, obviously, it's not going to add to the aesthetic of it anymore, but I don't know. I
saw it coming. I think I said it very early on when it was like the Halo was confirmed. I was like, I bet you there'll be teams now doing aero devices, and actually it'll be kind of neat in terms of what they're going to try and do. They can't do a lot, so actually I think early on pre-season, like McLaren engineers were saying, every single team will probably converge onto the same ideas by the time we get to like midway through the season.
Yeah,
but
there's only so much you can do.
You can't tell really from a distance, but I rate Haas's attempt of teeth. Like,
little vortex generators.
They look pretty cool. Like, the teeth on the Halo look pretty sweet, better than the aero flap. But I don't think putting flaps on it is going to make the Halo look any better.
I mean, it's not to look better. It's purely for actual aero stuff. It's a different way to go about it. Like, I think Haas will probably just try and make that air a lot smoother, because those are like, as you say, teeth. Little small vortex generators, so I'll try and mix the air up a little bit. Whereas like Toro Rosso, McLaren, Ferrari as well, and Sauber as well, they're going for like winglets, trying to push the air a little bit sideways maybe, and just trying to angle it a bit more. But they'll all get to the same ideas, I think, by the time they get to halfway through the season.
Yeah, kind of with the T-wing.
Yeah, basically, with the T-wing. Yeah, and I like the T-wing actually. That's another thing. Like, some teams have opted for it, some haven't. That's another thing where I think by halfway through the season, again, you'll see pretty much all of them, like they did with last season with the upper T-wing. They'll all start running it eventually. So
what's quite interesting is the fact that they banned shark fins, yet they're kind of still there.
I mean,
although I like the look of them, I really do like the look of them.
They wanted to ban the kind of abseil style ones, I guess, but they were like, no, we still kind of like the little shark, like small shark fin. So I think I got used to it already.
I think with this era of cars, obviously they found out last year that a shark fin is very useful. So obviously this year they know that they need to try and get as much of a shark fin as possible, just because of the aerodynamic effect. But I like it. Like in the same way that McLaren have made it a little bit different with obviously the blue on it, and I don't know.
I think people got a
they
misconception
look better than last year
with the whole shark theme ban, because everyone was drawing up concepts and thinking, if you took off the shark fin, all it'd be is like a swooped engine cover shape, when it's never been like that in the past anyway, before the shark fins came back in last year, because before that they still had this elongated bit of carbon
a little
fiber.
bit. I mean, it depends.
This year's just a little bit longer.
Team to team, it varied a little bit.
But I love it as is now. Like, it looks really good. Like some teams, for example, I think off the top of my head, Renault have made it really good because they've integrated the number into like a stripe they've got coming down the wing, which looks really cool. And overall, I'm just I'm happy with how the cars look. Obviously head aside, some of the best looking cars we've seen in a long time, to be honest. And like a lot of unique and different designs. Like for example, we said before, the Renault, you look at it from the front, it's just completely yellow. From the side, it's completely black. It's unique, different.
Yeah, I said that in my video. A very nice a lot of way to design it.
Concepts going on, but I guess really at this point we can just chat about, I think, team order, what we think so far, performance.
Yeah, see how they've gone. We'll go Red Bull because they topped day one.
Day one.
Seems like everything's gone quite well for them. I know Daniel Ricciardo span it on the shakedown day. But other than that, I don't think they've had any problems at all. I think they've had very solid running.
I know
they've had a bit of,
which caused a spin.
Oh yeah, he did have a fuel leak, and just a few spins there. But I think there's been more drama off track than on track for Red Bull when it comes to.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ricciardo did the most laps on the first day, so that's encouraging as well for Renault in that regard. So
I think. Well, with Red Bull making noise off track, I still think, unfortunately, everything we were hoping for about Red Bull hitting the ground running, they got the car early, launched it early. I don't know, in the way their demeanour is right now with Helmut Marko saying some stuff, I don't know, I hope they're playing it down on purpose just so they don't get embarrassed later if they talked it up and it didn't come through. I still think
maybe they're keeping their cards close to their chest, maybe.
Yeah, might rock up to Australia, a few little bits and bobs here, and might be right there with them, and hopefully they are. But I still think probably it's going to be, you'll have Ferrari and Mercedes hopefully quite close, and then just a tiny bit back, talking like maybe an extra 10th or 2 back will be Red Bull. The midfield, no idea.
Sorry, go on.
Midfield.
Can we talk side pods, please? Because we've got some funky side pods this year, and I kind of like them.
I'm going to say straight away, I'm going to say fair play to Sauber, straight off the bat.
Yeah, Sauber. I was very impressed by the Sauber car in my video in terms of like they've gone very bold, like with what they're trying. Like they've gone for just as small as like almost Red Bull and Ferrari have. Like they've gone for it.
Yeah, I do like it though.
I literally did a Q&A before this video for one of my videos. I think Sauber actually, they are my dark horse for this season. My second dark pick is Toro Rosso, depending on how the engine performs. But for me, off the bat, I think Sauber are my dark horse. If Charles Leclerc gets going in that car and he can get the feelers out and drag it through a little bit as well, I think so. I don't know. I just think they've got a good car. They've got a good package there, and also they've got current year Ferrari power, and I think they've got a lot going for them this season. Financial backing,
and with a bit of ingenuity behind them with this whole side pod. It's weird though with side pods because the only time I can think of a different sort of side pod is 2011 McLaren. When they had their little
the U-shape. I love that side pod. By the way, that was
I really like
exquisite side pod.
But other than that, we've never seen any sort of development in that area until last year when Ferrari obviously rocked up with a very thin, long side pod intake. And now, obviously, Red Bull have gone for one. Sauber have made it quite different. Obviously, Ferrari is staying down that development path as well. I don't know whether some people have been saying it doesn't look very nice, but I like the look of them. It makes it look a bit meaner. I don't know why. Just looks nicer.
Yeah, I love the look of the Red Bull.
I like Ferraris because Ferraris is really, I don't know. I just love the details. It's really, really nice to look at. And it's like nicely hidden because of the barge wall they have on the side.
Yeah, Ferrari's very intricate. Like the third little winglets that look like an inlet, like behind the barge wall area, behind
nice
the
detail.
Area. Really like nice little twist. Again, Ferrari came this year, like last year. I was impressed that for the second year in a row now, it looks like Ferrari actually having a good stab. Because in the past, they've just never had a good stab at trying different ideas and going very different to other teams. It's always been Red Bull. And Red Bull, again, this year went very different. Like, that rear end is so tiny. The angle that side pod suckers in is just so extreme. And I love the look of it, it looks so much meaner. I liken it to, like, supermodels. Like the F1.
Extra small,
this year's the supermodel year of F1, like, for the side pods.
And also... Coke bottle as well. like the Coke bottle is probably the most popular solution this year. Like I think Mercedes is very tight. I think Mercedes is the tightest at the back. Like this dance floor on their floor, you could dance on it. There's that much room. I was so shocked to see the bird's eye view of that Mercedes, and you look at the floor and you're like, bloody hell, there's loads of room on there. Like you literally could dance on it. But I think Red Bull, obviously, they've always been quite good with tightness. McLaren,
Red Bulls is just the Red Bulls is the tightest if we're talking about the entire sidepod. Like their front is like there is no curvature.
The front's tight, and then the actual angle from the bottom to the top of the engine cover, like the angle it slopes in, is just so extreme.
There's no curve. It's like a straight slope down. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like what you said, Aarav. It's like supermodels. It's just shrunk at the back. It's really, like when I shrunk the car.
No, but this year, a lot of the shrinking has happened at the front this year, though, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at the Sauber, you look at the Red Bull, Ferrari.
Yeah, I think there was a good point, though, in one of the comments I got on one of the videos. Also, a good point is they might just be doing that also, not obviously just for airflow's sake, but also perhaps this year, with 3 engines, they're not going to be running the engine actually as high as they did last year because they have to protect it. There's no way they can run it at the same pace as last year and expect it to go.
Less airflow needed.
So actually, they might need less air as a whole coming in. So it's just a little theory that someone said in the comments. Can't remember who it was, but yeah.
Guarantee a team has got it wrong. Obviously, that's what F1 teams are supposed to do. They're supposed to push it, but I guarantee some team has got it wrong.
Maybe. And then you still got then teams like Merc. It may have a very sleek rear end, but the inlets are still actually quite big. Just like last year, actually. So
it's quite interesting to talk about.
Listen,
different ways to go.
Merc's interesting because it doesn't scream to me like last year. You remember when they rocked up at Catalonia and everyone was like, "Whoa!" I'm not talking preseason. I'm talking Catalonia actual mid-season car updates.
Yeah.
They rocked up and everyone was like, "Woo, geez!" And you look at it now. I mean, there's details, same as Ferrari, but Mercedes details aren't the same as Ferrari. And I'm not being biased here. I just genuinely, if you look in detail of Ferrari, you can see where maybe little areas where they went wrong last season, they've gone out of their way to correct it. Whereas Mercedes, here's my take on the Merc. I think what they've gone for in terms of correcting their car isn't necessarily for performance reasons. I think it's because you can tell by the way their car is, and looking, for example, at the barge board area, I think their issue last year, their main issue was following in dirty air. And I think their car has been simplified in areas where they said they think that it won't affect their strengths. So that way they can maybe follow in dirty areas
because they might be doing more racing this season.
That's the idea and the vibe I'm getting from their car. It's
a very passive thing, though, isn't it?
I don't know if they've fixed it for dirty air necessarily. I think they're trying to get rid of all the things that made it a diva of a car. And Toto Wolff basically saying that. Like they took last year's car, which was a championship-winning car, basically brought it forward into this year, tried to fix little bits which just made it didn't work in certain tracks like Monaco or other tracks where Ferrari clearly had an advantage over them. They've tried to move it a little bit towards that kind of more comfortable area, but not too much, obviously, because then you change the whole nature of the car.
It's not going to shock anyone if you say that the Ferrari had more downforce than the Mercedes last year. If they won Hungary. If they were going to win Singapore,
I don't think is downforce really the right word for it, though?
I think it is.
Drivability.
I do think it is.
Yeah, but no, because downforce, they had more at Spa, for example, which, it's a high-speed track, but the fast corners,
the Merc was better in high-speed corners. The Ferrari was a lot better just for drivability's sake.
Well, obviously because of the wheelbase, and the wheelbase hasn't changed this year for the Mercedes.
Ferrari.
I think the reason they won Spa was because of Sector 1 and Sector 2, Sector 1 and Sector 3, sorry. Even though they were still good in Sector 2, and obviously with the high-speed corners, I do still feel that last year they had their edge because of their engine, and obviously that's pretty much undoubted at certain tracks. Like I watched the full Brazilian Grand Prix the other day, and you just look at Hamilton coming through the field, and you look at that engine, and you go, bloody hell, that was good. I know it's a fresh engine and everything. But this year, it's interesting because it's an interesting situation, though, because Mercedes win the championship, it's like, right, okay, we've got a good car then, World Championship winning car. But up until Suzuka, Singapore, did they have the best car? Because of this whole diva situation, I bet Mercedes were in a bit of an awkward spot. Oh, yeah, obviously Ferrari for a way, yeah.
To be honest, I think Seb wouldn't have won Japan. I don't think. Because that was just
He'd have won Singapore.
He maybe would have won Singapore, but I still think Verstappen would have been a wild card in that one, in my opinion. I don't think Seb would have won Brazil if Hamilton would have still been in title contention, because the Hamilton that would have turned up would have been the same one that did, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the way he came through the field, like you said, also I think if it came down to Abu Dhabi, if the title was on the line, I think Hamilton might have done that extra 5% better and got the better.
I think Malaysia as well, though. That was at the back, and he was the fastest all weekend.
Yeah,
it was the Red Bull
I just think the grand scheme of things last season, if you look at the races, I still think Hamilton would have won more than Vettel would have won. Therefore, I think Hamilton would have edged it. But with that being said, I do think it was closer than what people gave him credit for. I think both cars are very close. But this year, I will say this: I made it. Like I said it in not the last podcast, the one we did end of last season 2 podcast. I said I fully expect Fro to rock up with a 2016-ish season, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. So far, I'm not getting that vibe, which is good.
No, I'm not either.
I'm keeping my cards close to my chest in terms of what I think, because obviously, they've been the fastest car so far, but still, we'll see. It's very intriguing.
It's quite really exciting, isn't it? Because you look at the Mercedes, the Ferrari, and the Red Bull, and I don't think you'd be able to pick a winner.
The grid would be very much closer this year, I think, in my opinion. I know people will still say, the top 3, this, that, and the other, but I think the teams that were slacking last season have really made a big step forward, and I think the gap will still be there. But Renault, I think you could see a few surprises here and there. Like for example, if McLaren are actually as good as they say they are, you could fully expect them to maybe be sniffing. I think Renault, I just got this feeling they're going to rock up at Australia with something different. They've tried a few things.
I bloody hope they do.
Yeah, to be fair, you do. Yeah.
We'll see.
We can speak about all this stuff. We can talk about the cars, but guarantee that probably all 11 teams are going to come up with new parts for Australia.
Oh yeah, it's going to change.
They're all going to come up with new
it's
parts
the same
for Spain.
thing. Like we do it every year. We talk about it. It changes because testing you can never really know fuel levels, this, that, the other.
Just don't look at the
it's all kind of just hope really at this point. It's a hope that it's all a little bit closer because last year, if you take away the Ferrari v Merc fight, it was very strung out in terms of the entire grid. Hopefully, it is a little more tight knit.
But I'll say this: I don't think Force India are a clear-cut fourth-place team at the moment. That's what I'll say.
Well, one thing that has caught them out is the halo, because they've had to basically make a complete new chassis, which they didn't really want to do. They usually carry it over from last year and just keep developing it, because obviously it's the same set of regs. So that's what I'm guessing that's what they did with 2014 through to 2016, which is quite interesting. So I think that's one of the reasons why they've either maybe stayed with the same sort of concept, just because they've had to kind of rework the chassis to fit the halo and to fit obviously all the crash test requirements. This is where we can probably see McLaren and Renault coming forward, in which obviously Renault have been fairly good this test. I don't think. Then again, I don't think anyone's had problems really.
But it's Renault. It's a manufacturer. You've got I wouldn't say expect them to be there, but listen, they've got money to pump in. I think they said with their power unit, they weren't looking for performance, they were looking for reliability over the winter. Yeah. Similar to Ferrari, really. Ferrari did the same thing. They weren't going for performance with the engine anymore. They've sort of just improved what they had.
I think all manufacturers have, with this.
So with that in mind, I think this year there's a lot of room for improvement for Renault. I'll say that though, it depends what they rock up with Australia with, but I still think Renault will be, along with McLaren, I think this year completing the top 5, and Force India will be 6th at the moment. I'm just getting that vibe at the moment. I mean, it could be Toro Rosso could be the 4th best team. We just don't know.
Yeah, I think that'll be quite a surprise. But yeah, I mean, at the same time though, I think Force India could surprise us because the way they've talked about it with the press releases they kind of come to this test with a car they know they came to it intentionally with a car they know they can run well in testing, and that's a good base so that they can more rapidly chuck on upgrades, and that the team can continue back in the factory right now as we speak to work on upgrades that are going to come to Australia, rather than slapping on half of them experimentally for testing and the other half kind of half there for Australia. They kind of opted for just going for a car that they know they can just run in testing, let the engineers back home just keep working at the upgrades, and hopefully they can just rapidly bring them as the season starts. And then obviously into Europe, then every team brings up a lot of upgrades. So it could surprise us in that way, in that perspective. Again, that's just something that we'll have to see. Australia practice every single year is always very interesting to see.
Yeah,
who's come with a very different car. Last year all of us kind of had our jaws dropped in terms of how simple the Red Bull rocked up to Australia with like, oh, nothing changed. Like the big magic moment we're waiting for did not arrive. So I think that there might be a few cases like that this year. Like, oh, the magic hasn't arrived.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because it's a double-edged sword. If you take your brand new best parts to testing, then obviously you show your hand, but you get good data on it. But if you save it to Australia,
and then you
might break it. But if you save it to Australia, you don't have the data on it, you don't know whether it'll work, and that's still the flyaways. So you've only really got the calendar's changed because Azerbaijan is actually the first European race. To be fair, we might see it. That's where the upgrades might come, Azerbaijan.
Maybe. At the same time, though, like this modern era of Formula 1, simulators are so good now. The CFD programs they've got work so well now as well. Is the fact that also testing, all the every single year they bring the aero rakes, like just to get the data of how the air's moving around, and then they can map that to all the simulators back home. So, especially for the top teams, I don't think that's a worry for them. This is where the whole, like I said, back with the argument of winter testing being winter testing, maybe this might actually more hinder the smaller teams, that they really can't actually test it in the real world at their parts, because their simulator stuff might not be as good. But, it's half and half for that. Australia is looking forward to that again.
Just looking down, I wanted to comment on Williams and their weird driver lineup. Which I know, to be fair, I know Force India have had different drivers, but the fact that Kubica's in that car, I do not get why he's in there at all. As much as I like Kubica, do not know why he's in that car.
As we stand, I think even worse than that, which is what I don't understand, Perez has not turned a lap yet, I don't think, or if not the least, yet Mazepin got a run in the car all of the first day.
Yep.
Monday.
I understand maybe money comes into it for Force India more than Williams, but
more for Williams
I
now,
just feel for Sirotkin. It's just you've got to think though, Sirotkin, this is his debut season, complete rookie. He needs as many laps behind that car as possible, because we saw obviously with Lance Stroll, he still turned up to Australia. In the first half of the season, he was still struggling. He was hanging the neck of that car, and he was so twitchy on his wheel and everything. I think he needs a bit more time. So to put Kubica in, fair play. Yeah, he's proven himself. He even did the shakedown day, didn't he? He did the filming day.
Yeah.
And I just don't get why. He's not a number one driver. You wouldn't have,
to be fair,
like Lando Norris in the McLaren.
Like Palo said, Robert's going to get the chance to prove himself this season for a drive seat.
Why? He's doing loads of FP1s as well.
He's only been given he's only been given 3 FP1s all season at the moment to prove himself.
Any sense at all? To be fair, I think they're trying to keep him happy. They're trying to keep Kubica happy because I bet they're going to think that Sirotkin's going to be gone at the end of the season. I don't know why. I've got that sort of vibe. I feel like
I think it entirely depends on who they draft in as a major sponsor next season, if they even draft in a major sponsor.
I think Williams is just a little bit lost at the moment now, especially with the Martini news of just like shit. What's happening?
Everything's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Literally, I think Massa was their guiding force, and now he's.
I mean, to be fair, Sirotkin got 52 laps on day 2. And Kubica got 48, so Sirotkin did get more laps than Kubica.
On the day, Williams did the most laps
slow
between 2 drivers. On the day. So
I don't know. It's just a bit stupid, to be honest. But all the people that pointed, there are some stupid people on Facebook. Some people actually pointed out that Sirotkin was 23 seconds off the pace. We'll ignore the fact that it rained. On day 1, I was like, "Oh my god!" Facebook.
Well,
if
that's
anyone
like saying,
doesn't look at Facebook F1,
I'm sorry. That's like reading into the headlines. Alonso tops day 3 with a 2-minute 18 lap time.
It just made me laugh. In the same way, to be fair, that people went, "How are people able to see out of the car? The halo's in the way." I'm like, "Oh, you've got no brain." Oh,
I do want to comment one thing, but going back to the halo and the Force India. Obviously, the news came out this week about the halo costing approximately $1 million per team, which is obviously a halo. That's 2 cars plus reserve halos. If it I mean, it shouldn't break, but they might have to replace it. Whatever.
Probably have
40 connection. There's always like a. So what I'm saying is, between 2 to 3 million per team, and you've got teams like Force India, for example, who struggle for cash. Should really the FIA have paid for the halos for every team? At least for the strugglers.
I think because the FIA, it's a safety mandate thing. Yes, I do agree. They need.
But then again, they have to pay for everything else. They have to pay for They have to build the safety cell.
Yeah, they do.
So why should they have to pay for that?
But at the same time, I think there's some leeway with the way they do their survival cell. Like they can change it a little bit here and there, the way they want to shape it. And it just needs to pass the crash test. That's why they do the crash test, because they need to make sure every team can pass it. Whereas the FIA, I think, pretty much just hand them the dimensions and literally like, this is the titanium structure you're making.
They bought it. No, that's the thing. They didn't even make it. They bought it off a company. There's one company.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, they bought it off a company. Yeah.
There you go then.
So why do they have to buy it off?
The team make the survival cell. They don't make the Halo. So I feel like with that difference, the FIA should pay for it.
Because obviously that's money that obviously with the survival cell they can put research and development into it to make it more aerodynamic whilst also as strong as possible. So yeah, it is an interesting thing obviously, and they've got to put on their own aero bits as well. So
exactly. Yeah,
it's interesting that one, but we'll see. I know one big issue with the Halo everyone's been moaning about is the helmets, which I've got to say, you can't really see the helmets anymore.
I do agree. To be fair, like. It is a bit of a shame. I think, like I said, we're all crying for it. They've got to put something on the Halo to, like... Yeah. I think someone just said something as simple as just a big fat driver number right in the middle of the triangle.
Yeah, I think like the stylized driver number, where where Ferrari have their Ferrari logo on the Halo. Just put it there. Just like nice big chunky circle with Seb's 5, or you got Hulkenberg's fancy 27, or Fernando's 14. But I feel like
they need to go all in with the custom numbers, because I feel like at the same time they didn't really commit to it. Like, for example, last season, like, off the top of my head, Williams, Force India...
They kind of rammed it on, didn't they?
Renault... Yeah, like, for example, I'll go back to it. I mean, if you look at MotoGP, for example, Valentino Rossi's 46 is synonymous with absolutely everybody. It's a big, fat, neon yellow 46 in the same style.
On his arse.
And everyone runs that. So, I think that's something that, obviously, everyone can maybe learn and give a bit more freedom. And I'd even say, instead of, for example, if you look at the Mercedes and look at their numbers, for example, Hamilton and Bottas... Instead of having just a standard font, let them design their own, like, not just say every car, but for the Mercedes as well, let them design their own custom numbers.
Well, it's like,
actually custom to them, and slap it on the car like that.
It's like with Hulkenberg's 27, where the 2 is like two like oval cutouts together. Or Alonso's 14, which is like stylized on his helmet but not on the car, or Vettel's number 5 is stylized on his helmet but not on the car. If you just put the stylized version on the car instead, or on the Halo, it's a bit more personal.
I think Science's 55 is like a good example of that. He's got like a really funky...
Yeah. So I think a lot of the drivers do have stylized numbers, but it's only on their helmet.
It's a shame it's not on the car.
If it was on the car, it could be a lot cooler as well. Yeah.
Is it me that think that they've kind of... Obviously, with the shark fin being reduced this year, it looks like a lot of teams have just kind of rammed it on still at the back, like it's on a crease of the...
Yeah, it's on a crease, a lot of it's on a crease.
Cover, and I'm a bit
I don't like that. It's, OCD-wise, it's...
Yeah, and Tom, what you said to me yesterday about the Red Bull... The number 33 or 3 just looks like a blob. It doesn't really look like a 3.
The car looks really... Like, you can't
just feel like they haven't gone full.
Me and Carl were having a bit of a whinge OCD session, because if you look at all the cars, they've all got the number. I know you can't see my webcam, but for the viewer, they've all got their number right where the nose, or the chassis structure on the nose, bends into like the flat top bit. Yeah. So it's at a weird angle. Like Mercedes, Red Bull, off the top of my head, have it in a really weird position, whereas, for example, and McLaren as well, they have it like, it's like above the S-duct sort of thing. And then they've got a big fat space right in the centre part of the lower half of the nose with nothing there, crying for a number. Like, for example, Merc has like the Petronas logo above the Merc symbol on the nose, and then there's absolutely nothing until the S-duct.
But then you look at Force India, look at that nose, it's rammed.
I mean, you got to take into account though where the front wing breaks off sometimes.
That's true.
So you can't put it there.
Yeah.
Even still, it's a bit weird, because the number usually is just like a lot of decals, just a sticker they put on, so they couldn't put it over a crease like that.
Yeah. But then again, because some of them have got it on the actual like almost cockpit in some cases.
Well, the Mercedes literally has it on the cockpit. Yeah. Like it's like you can't even see it from the front view.
Because you remember in the days when like obviously you had 2 sets of front wings, one for one driver, and one for the other, because they had the driver number on it, but. Obviously, Mercedes, they can just go, right, front wing on. But obviously, other teams, if obviously one driver runs out of front wings, then they have to switch the decal over. So that's probably one of the reasons.
So look at where Ferrari have their number. That basically, just have it in sight so people can actually see it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. But that's our whinge of the day. That's been a bit OCD on that one.
We don't like the Halo, but we like the Halo, but we don't like the number positioning. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that's come out of
I think that's about it.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, all data. Just a little disclaimer: don't read into too much data about times and stuff, because although the track temperatures have been much lower, although there's been rain and snow, it's a complete new complete new surface. They've only got the first 4 rows of the grid painted on at the minute. So yeah, don't read into that too much. Even though the cars are 25 kilo heavier with the halo. This, that, and the other, different tyres, softer tyres, there's no real point in looking into lap times because they're completely irrelevant. But we did see the Hypersoft for the first time yesterday.
Only once, though, haven't we?
Only once.
Yeah,
that was Van Dorn just giving it a little go. But I doubt, of all tyres, I'm sure that Hypersoft would die at Catalonia.
No, it's not going to be used at Catalonia. No.
Yeah, I don't.
But
also quite interesting.
Out of the pits. Box.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's like Into the Barriers video. Guys, pit now. Lap 1, going up Eau Rouge already. But I think that's everything for testing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think obviously the way we're doing this is, as I said at the very beginning, we're recording this on a Wednesday. This will go out on either Saturday or Sunday. So something might have happened in the last day of testing of week 1.
Everyone blows up.
We'll be hoping to do a podcast next weekend for testing 2. That'll be on the weekend again, on that weekend. But then after that, I think hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be then having weekly podcasts, usually on the Monday, then we'll release it. Just in a way of, obviously, if you realise lately the webcams have been a little bit more HD-ish and Tom hasn't been lagging because we're now actually locally recording these videos, but it does mean it takes actually longer to put the video together, so we can't get the video turned around fast enough to get it out on a Sunday when there's a race on a Sunday.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's something that we just can't get around, unfortunately. So usually podcasts will come out on a Monday. I just want to state that. But for this one and the next week's one, it'll probably be on the weekend, just due to the fact the way testing's been done. Obviously, it's kind of Monday it starts, so there'd be no point putting this on the Monday when it's the Monday of testing too, if you get what I mean. But yeah, but just again, a little friendly reminder at the end here, if you want to get this on the go in the future, I do really recommend you downloading the podcast app on your Apple device, or you can get the SoundCloud app on your Android device as well, and you can get it on the go by just searching the Pitlane Podcast, and you can actually get followed on SoundCloud or subscribe to the Pitlane Podcast on the iTunes podcast app, and you can do that, and that's the easy way for you to get it on the go.
Give us a rating.
Also that'll be very useful. If you've listened to the podcast before, then we would appreciate you rating it on iTunes, especially. At the moment, we got a really nice 5-star from all of you guys. Really, really thankful for that. So thank you for that. If you're new to it on that platform, would appreciate that. As usual, you can also support the podcast a bit more directly by, if you want something from GT Omega, you can use the code PitlaneF1, and that will get you a 5% discount, and that will directly kind of help us out a little bit. That has been episode number 73 for testing number 1, week number 1. We'll see you guys next weekend then for testing number 2, and hopefully there might be a bit more to talk about in terms of, I think, the warmer weather will be returning to Barcelona and the UK and pretty much all of Europe, maybe. So we will see you guys then, but till then, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend or day, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.